Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to tackle one of life's most fundamental questions. Really, what does it actually mean to be healthy? You might be surprised to learn that the answer has changed a lot over time. So, let's dive in.
So let me just ask you, are you healthy or are you sick? For a really long time, the answer to that question seems super simple, almost like flipping a switch. You are either one or the other. But is it really that black and white?
Well, this old way of thinking is what we call the binary model. The idea is that health is just the absence of disease. It's a very reactive way to look at things, right? You pretty much only pay attention to your health when that switch flips and you're already feeling sick.
But what if that simple on-off switch is just the wrong way to think about it entirely? What if health is something way more complex and a lot more dynamic than that?
Well, back in 1948, the World Health Organization came along and completely changed the game. They published this new definition that just blew the old model out of the water. For the first time, it wasn't just about your body. They officially recognized that your mental and social well-being are just as important.
Now, this new holistic definition was a huge leap forward, for sure, but, well, it wasn't perfect. It actually raised a whole new set of questions and pushed us toward an even more dynamic way of thinking about what it means to be well.
See, here's the catch with that WHO definition. Think about that word, complete. Is anyone ever, truly, in a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being? I mean, that's a pretty high bar. If you take that literally, it kind of means most of us would be considered unhealthy most of the time. Plus, it talks about health as a state, like it's some destination you arrive at, instead of the ongoing journey it really is.
So, all that thinking led to a really fantastic new idea, the illness-wellness continuum. This model totally reframes health. It's not about two opposite states anymore. Instead, it's a spectrum, a line that we're all constantly moving along throughout our entire lives.
Okay, so here's how you can picture it. Imagine a line. On the far, far left, you have premature death. On the far, far right, you have high-level wellness. Now, right in the middle, there's a neutral point. This is where you're not sick, but you're not exactly thriving either. Traditional medicine is awesome at getting you from the left side back to that neutral point. But the wellness mindset, that's all about actively pushing yourself to keep moving toward the right, toward a state of true thriving.
So even with all these cool new ideas about spectrums and wellness, for centuries, Western medicine has really been dominated by one powerful, but as we'll see, pretty limited model for how our bodies work. Yep, this is the medical model. It basically views the human body as a machine. It's a simple, powerful metaphor, right? If you're healthy, it means all your parts are working correctly. If you're sick, it means something's broken. And who do you go to? The doctor. The doctor is the expert mechanic whose job it is to find the broken part and fix it.
Now, this body as a machine idea comes with some pretty big assumptions baked right in. First, it completely separates the mind from the body, a concept called mind-body dualism. It also tends to boil down really complex health problems to a single biological cause. So the focus is always on the disease itself, not necessarily on the person who has it. And in this view, the patient is kind of just a passive recipient of a cure.
And hey, let's be clear. For things like acute infectious diseases, this model works wonders. It's an absolute lifesaver. Think about something like pneumonia. You find the bacteria, you prescribe the right antibiotic to kill it, and poof, the machine is repaired. It's incredibly effective.
But here's where the model really starts to show its cracks. What about the chronic lifestyle-related illnesses that are so common today? Things like heart disease or diabetes. They don't have a single cause that you can just zap with a pill. They're way more complicated than that.
And that critical limitation, that inability to deal with chronic disease, really created the need for a much more comprehensive model. We needed something that could see the entire picture of a person's life.
And that brings us to this, the biopsychosocial model, which came about in 1977. It sounds like a mouthful, but it's a really intuitive idea. It argues that your health isn't just one thing. It's a product of this constant interplay between three key areas: your biology, your psychology, and your social world. So for something like chronic back pain, sure, the biological cause might be a slip disc. But psychological factors like stress at work or being afraid to move can make that pain feel so much worse. And social factors like having a physically demanding job or not having support at home play a massive role in whether you recover. See? It's all connected.
This shift in perspective is a total game changer. When you put them side by side, it's so clear. Instead of focusing only on the disease,
We're now looking at the whole person, and the patient is no longer just a passive body waiting to be fixed, but an active collaborator in managing their own well-being.
And this whole person approach, it really opens the door to an even bigger and more exciting idea. The difference between just not being sick and truly having a sense of well-being.
When we talk about well-being, you can kind of think of it in two different ways. First, there's the hedonic path. That's all about feeling good, maximizing pleasure, minimizing pain, that pursuit of happiness. Then there's the eudaimonic path. This is more about living a good life. It's about finding meaning, a sense of purpose, and really fulfilling your potential. And you know what? A truly great life probably has a healthy mix of both.
And this is where positive psychology gives us some really practical toolkits. One of the most famous is the PERMA model. It gives us 5 key pillars to focus on to build a flourishing life. Having positive emotions, being engaged in what you do, nurturing relationships, finding meaning, and a sense of accomplishment.
So let's just take a quick breath and recap this incredible journey of how we've come to understand health and well-being.
I mean, look how far we've come. We moved from that simple black and white on-off switch to a broad but maybe unrealistic definition from the WHO, then to an interactive model that looks at the whole person, and finally to this proactive focus on creating wellness, not just trying to avoid sickness.
When you look at the journey of all these ideas, there's one profound truth that really stands out. Health isn't some static thing you achieve like a trophy. It's a proactive, continuous process. It's about the conscious choices we make every day to move from just surviving to truly thriving.
So I'll just leave you with this question to think about. What's one choice, maybe even a small one, that you can make today to help move yourself along that continuum, from simply surviving to actively thriving?